In the entire Quran, the main story that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives between haqq and batil, between justice and injustice, between tyranny and truth, is the story of Fir'aun and Musa alayhi salam. And most of us, we are aware of this story, and we know what happened to Fir'aun and what happened to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, and what happened to the followers of Musa alayhi salam. But in this story, there is wisdom. For every one of us, for every single persecution, for every single injustice, for every single tyranny that is taking place across the globe. These days, we see yet another rise of injustice. And this is not the first in our lifetimes. And unfortunately, in all likelihood, this will not be the last. But what we see the rise of this neo-fascist understanding, which is pharaonic in its sense, in its essence, because this ideology basically are separating people based upon their region, based upon their race. And this is exactly what Fir'aun did. Quran tells us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, وَجَعَلَهُمْ شِيَعًا. Fir'aun separated his own people based upon their race, based upon their region. This is Pharaonic, this was Pharaonic, and this is what we see in that land of India, that ancient land. You know, that land where most of us come from. Most of the people in the audience, they have biological ties with that land. A land that is supposed to be, that was one of the bastions of human civilization. You know, a land that has so much history in it, yet today we see the rise of a new strand. You know, a strand of bigotry, a strand of injustice, a strand of racism, of hatred. And the person who is in charge of that strand, he is following a methodology that actually inspired Hitler. This is a strand of an ideology that is preaching the purity of one race over another, of one people over another. And this is not humanity. This is not common sense. This is not reason or logic. So the person who is in charge of that ruling party in India, we all are aware that these people are following the same methodology that inspired Nazism. It inspired Nazism. So you know, this ideology, the same parent organization, if you look back, if you're not aware of that, you should learn about it. The same ideology, its parent organization back in the 1920s, and I'm not even exaggerating, it's the same ideology that inspired the version of Hitler, and that's why he took the symbol of swastika. It's an Indian symbol. Go and Google that symbol, swastika. Hitler took that symbol, took that Hindu symbol, because he and his ideology is from the same ideology. And today we see this ideology manifesting itself in multiple movements across the globe. And there are three such movements. There are three such movements that I want all of us to be aware of. There are three primary movements that are having the same kind of ideology, and it's terrible to see them on the rise nowadays. First of them, which is what is going on in India, is the ideology of Hindutva. And the ideology of Hindutva is the radical strand of Hinduism. It's not the mainstream Hinduism. It's the radical strand of Hinduism that say that this land is for one group, one nation, and one people. And these people are the ones who follow their version of Hinduism, their version. And by the way, this is the same strand that assassinated Gandhi back when Gandhi was viewed as the pinnacle of peace, as the paragon of peace. And they assassinated Gandhi even though he was not a Muslim. He was a Hindu. He wasn't a Muslim, but they viewed him as being a traitor, as being a betrayer, because the version of Hinduism that he was following was not a version that Hindutva liked. So this version is preaching that one ideology is supreme over all the other, and this is the first movement that I want all of us to be aware of. The second one is, of course, one of the version of this fascism understanding that we have been experiencing for last 70 years. And this is the ideology of Zionism. And this ideology basically says that one group, one race, one people is for this land. And somebody who's not from this land, they don't belong there, even if they have been living in that land for 2,000 years. So somebody who's born into that version of understanding, even if he's born in America or in Europe, he gets automatic citizenship. But the people who are in that land, the Palestinians, who have been living there for hundreds of years, whether they are Christians or Muslims, by the way, there is no distinction here. The Palestinians who are living there, whether they are Christians, whether they are Muslims, because they are not a part of that understanding, of that version, that's why they don't belong there. This is the ideology of Zionism. And the third one, the third strand is the one that is right here where we are living. And that's the white nationalism. And this is something that we are seeing in the Western lands where we are living right now. White nationalism. This version of this fascism understanding where they want to shut down the borders and they are harping on immigration and they are banning Muslims and all other people from coming into their countries. This is white nationalism. It's linked to Hindutva. This white nationalism is linked to Hindutva, it's linked to Zionism. So don't be surprised when you see the leaders of all of these understanding in international conferences, shaking hands with each other and causing up. Don't be surprised to see that, because all of them, they came from the same ideology. They all came from the same ideology. But ironically speaking, these ideologies, each one of them would not like the other in their own land. Ironically, all of these ideologies who are finding support and comfort in each other at dinner tables, in international festivals, they wouldn't be comfortable eating with each other in their own lands, because each one of them viewed the other one as being false. But all of these ideologies, all of these mainstream movements that I was talking about, they are preaching the same hatred, the same bigotry, the same racism that Fir'aun preached over 4,000 years ago. So Allah tells us in the Quran, إِنَّ فِرْعَوْنَ عَلَى فِي الْأَرْضِ وَجَعَلَ أَهْلَهَا شِيَعًا. He divided his own people up into different groups. يَسْتَضْعِفُ طَائِفَةً مِّنْهُمْ. And there was always one group who would always be killed. There was one group who would always be killed, who would always be massacred, who would always be the scapegoat. And the other group is considered to be the dominant one. They are the ones who are blaming everything to the other. They are the ones who are going and killing the other. And this is exactly what we are seeing in India nowadays. The injustices in Palestine for over 70 years. And unfortunately, even in the Western lands now, even in these lands where we are living, even though physically it's not that bad, and it's only because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, physically it's not that bad, but that ideological understanding is on the rise. This ideology and this understanding is on the rise. And truth be told, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, truth be told, the situation appears to be getting from bad to worse. Across the globe, I'm not just talking about India, across the globe. Truth be told, it seems as if things are happening, and those who study history, they will tell you that we are at a time frame now that is very similar to 1912. Very similar to 1915, right before the First World War. Right before the First World War. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for salam and afiyah. Please say Ameen. But the point that I'm trying to make here, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we cannot be blind. We cannot just close our eyes and ignore what is going on around us. You know where this is happening right now? In India? Some brothers are sitting here from India. Ask them where this is happening right now. These people never thought it would happen here. These people never thought that they would see a day when their own neighbors will come in and gang upon them. Their own people will come in the capital city of that land of India, subhanAllah. The capital city, Delhi is the capital city of that land of India. This is supposed to be a bastion of human civilization. This is supposed to be a land where there is government, there is police, there is some law. And in these lands, in the capital, we see what is happening in terms of ganging up, in terms of sectarianism. And those of you who have not been to that land, you should know that in that land, most of the people, they are easily identifiable as Muslims or non-Muslims because of their names and because of their dress. And in that land, generally speaking, in that land, many parts of that land, the people of one faith, they actually live together. Generally speaking, they actually live together. So it's very easy for one community to gang up on another. It's easy. But subhanAllah, I have to make myself clear here that this is not all the people of one faith who are ganging up on Muslims. There are righteous, just-minded people, even among the Sikhs, even among the Hindus, who are standing up and protecting Muslims. Yes. And a number of them have lost their lives, protecting Muslims, their honor and the honor of their own country. And we thank them for their help. And we hope that more people will join them. But this does not change the fact that these movements, these ideologies are on the rise.